Meeting to order, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the
Republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. All right, yes, the clerk may take the roll.
Councilmember Porter,
Present.
Councilmember Middleton,
Present.
Councilmember Kavanaugh, Councilmember Dundon,
Present.
Councilmember Costi,
Present.
Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Present.
Council President Matavetsky.
Present.
Thank you.
All right. With that, we have RL 24-150. And I'll pass it over to Councilman Middleton to introduce, and our presenter is John Solek.
Hey. Hello, John. How are you?
Just
I'm-
make sure you press the button.
The green button. So this is RL 24-150, an ordinance to amend the city of Binghamton's charter to eliminate the mayor as director of public safety. Can you talk to us about this ordinance?
Yeah, the structure of Binghamton, I think, is the problem, the way things are structured. And I think you've got a broken machine. So no matter what you do, no matter who gets elected, you're still stuck with the broken machine. This is an attempt to smooth it out. What this isn't, it isn't a radical idea. It is an unproven idea. The idea is in place right now as I speak, in large cities and in small cities, from Saratoga to Rye. So, and you know, we can go on and on. So this isn't a goofball thing. Now, why do I want to eliminate the mayor, this mayor, or any other mayor, future, as director of public safety? Well, we have a very arcane, most people think, well, the police chief's the boss, right? So, and we have a very arcane system to select a police chief. I've been over it. I still don't understand it, other than 3 people that are on the department now are going to be the police chief. And you know, so it's people get upset when something goes wrong at the police department, rightly or wrongly or in between. They want action. They go to the mayor. The mayor backs up the police chief. There's nowhere else to go.
So-
They come down here and vent their spleen, and then they say, well, maybe we should start a police review board or something like that. No. This is a very simple solution. Police commissioner is the director of public safety. He's the guy. You appoint him, he's accountable to you. There's a problem right here in the hot seat. If the public has to be addressed on any issue, it's the police chief. And we have precious little of that coming out of the department now. Precious little contact with the media or any type of engagement when something goes right or when something goes wrong. Seems to be relegated to election years. So this is an idea whose time has come. Now these people are professionals, and they can come from inside the city. There's nothing to say they couldn't. They can come from outside the city. But what they will have probably is a great deal of experience in the management. Now, the other thing is, now the police chief will still do the day-to-day policing, you know, Car 54 and all that. But what will happen is the administration, which is a lot of this police departments now, you got 50% of the budget, federal and state grants. And you got, you know, they read the police magazine, the trade paper, say, hey, there's a new grant. Let's go for that one. You know, what do we got to do? Well, we need more rape. You know, we need more robberies. You know, if we only get that in a certain section, we'll get more money. So a lot of the time consumption of the police chief is in grants, gathering grants. This is all the police, the director of public safety, the police commissioner, whatever you want to call him, would be the guy to do this. So it would be, and then you would have personnel. Something goes wrong, he's right there. So that's a solution to me.
Okay, and sorry. So you think all of this would kind of help the city of Binghamton as a whole, as having someone as a director of public safety?
Absolutely. I think it would, first of all, it would be more accountable to the people. That's number one. You know, I would liken it to a school superintendent. You know, you have an elected school board and you have the school superintendent. The school board hires the superintendent. If things go awry, if something happens, they want the superintendent out, well, they negotiate it out and the superintendent's out. So it's, you know, it's like I say, it's, you know, most places wouldn't, that have a police commissioner, that have a public safety commissioner, wouldn't dare go back to the old way. What, I mean, you know, oh, let's make the mayor the thing. So, and the people that get elected mayor, by the way, they come from a variety of backgrounds, but they really don't have any expertise in law enforcement or management for the most part, I mean, I know these mayors. So, I mean, so there's nothing that makes a mayor, just because he won an election, automatically qualified to run the police department and the fire department, you know? So, you know, you'll get a better manager, and you can put the heat on that manager when the manager doesn't deliver. And I think you'd be surprised. Oh, and by the way, I just want to say this is not sticking your neck out in any way. All these things that I'm proposing are just resolutions to go on the ballot. Public decides.
So you know that it wouldn't be this year, it would probably,
Yeah.
if this does pass, then it would probably be
Yeah.
next year.
Yeah, okay. You still get into a rush here, September. I don't know when the ballot closes out. Certainly, if I was a developer under the past council, it would be expedited.
Oh, darn.
Well, I know we missed
Yeah.
the deadline,
Yeah.
deadline for, has been missed for that, so
Yeah.
hopefully
We're gonna
it would be nice to have it on the referendum before
Yeah.
next year.
What'd you
Yeah.
say?
Clarity, the deadline for all referendums was today.
Oh, okay. Well, a dollar short and a day late, right here.
Go ahead.
Hi, John.
Hi.
I was hoping that you could reference some of the different cities that have implemented this type of model so that we could look at how that's going for them.
Well, yeah. Rye. Saratoga. There's other ones.
Okay. Thank you.
John, could you email us some of those when you get a chance? So that way we can do our own, research and stuff? Thank you.
And also, I would like to send this to committee if possible, so we could have further discussion on this. Would you be willing to come to a meeting with us just to discuss this more as we get information? Would you?
Okay.
I also had a question. We're dealing with public safety. I see it as more directed towards police. So what's wrong with the fire?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the way I saw it, you would have a separate fire commissioner. But that's subject to negotiation, whatever you would want to do with it. Public safety is the police in the fire in most places. So, yeah.
So just having a director of public safety rather than having a police commissioner or a fire commissioner as one?
Well, yeah, I mean, the mayor is both of those things now, so you could divide it up into two separate positions. Well, there's always, but primarily these directors of public safety, police is the where the action is, unless there's a terrible tragedy. So I mean, it's, you never see the fire commissioner on the, seldom unless it's a bad fire,
So, Councilman Middleton, was that a motion to
Oh, yes,
to
I'd
send
like
to
to,
committee?
yes, I'd like to make a motion to send it to committee.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Councilman Middleton, seconded by Councilman Dundon. Any discussion? Clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Porter,
Definitely.
Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh. Councilmember,
Aye. Aye.
Councilmember Costi,
No.
Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-1.
So, RL 24-150 will be discussed in committee whenever that next meeting is, or a meeting designated to discuss this. Okay,
Yeah.
Right.
Take a date.
Next we have, or any other discussion on that
Mm-mm.
beyond, okay. RL 24-151, handing things back over to Councilwoman Middleton.
RL 24-151, it's an ordinance to amend the city of Binghamton's charter to a city manager council form of government. John, can you explain this?
Okay, it's almost a mirror image
Uh-huh.
of the last one. Uh,
God bless you.
the manager form of government is functioning very well, has for decades. Batavia, I think, goes back to the 50s. Right up to the present day, last year or 2 years ago to Ithaca. So it's, I think, well, I don't want to say, I mean, I know them all. I don't want to get into the top of my head, but there's two. Norwich is entertaining it. Again, you know, and look, I'll be honest with you, for a lot of years prior to you getting here, the Corporation Council and the comptroller, they've run the city. I mean, Ken Frank and Shager were running the city, you know. I mean, they were the ones that when the crap hit the fan came out and put it through. So, I mean, you know, the mayor really doesn't run the city in a professional way. And then you go to the background of what it takes to be mayor. I could be mayor, you can be mayor. We can draw a name out of the hat. They all can be mayor. But that doesn't mean that they can run the city. I mean, I've yet to see a guy that says, well, you know, I worked in public works and I'm running for mayor. So there's a guy you can say, well, wow, this guy's got 30 years of experience in public works. He might make a good mayor. The snow might get shoveled under the guy. So what you do is you hire a professional, and that eliminates all the photo ops, all the wasted time. Now, the reason that I put there's another derivative form of this. There's actually a mayor where the mayor is ceremonial. I don't really think that that's needed, but you can have a guy that has a cardigan sweater that can go to the youth bureau or the youth things and thing. But too much of the mayor's time is spent with developers, and we're not really getting ahead. You know, that's how they get the campaign contributions. They get it from the lawyers and the big law firms in Buffalo and Rochester. All the developers. Too much of the time has been spent. And see, here's the other thing, you know, 12% of your term is gone, by the way. You know, we're wasting precious time. You know, people, and there's be these 3-term mayors and say, well, you got to wait more. You just got to wait. Look at this, look at that. And, you know, people either went to North Carolina or Florida or they died, you know, and nothing happened. So, city manager, there's trade papers, there's places to get them, to interview them. The overhead, you'll pay a city manager more, but you'll have less overhead because you won't have these patronage positions, deputy mayor and everything. Because you get a guy that, or a lady that will have experience. So, you know, as if someone's in an 80,000 population city and comes down here, well, they should be able to handle it, you know? And again, you know, maybe you won't be able to find anybody. Maybe you'll be able to find a lot of people. But the mayor's salary is getting up there. And, you know, I mean, there's a lot of people that would like to run the city and have the ability to run the city. They wouldn't run for public office if their life depended on it. They just wouldn't put themselves through that, you know? So again, this eliminate, you want to talk about accountability? There's accountability. You know, you've got instantaneous accountability. You bring the city manager down and, you know, you're operating under the law of contracts rather than the law of politics.
I'm used to that.
Yeah.
From where I'm from, the city manager, so it makes,
Yeah.
I would think this would be something to look into and possibly to discuss amongst that. I mean, I don't have anything else to ask. Do you recommend what do you recommend as what style of city manager?
I would go with the simple thing, because what would happen if you had a ceremonial mayor, the public wouldn't know he was the ceremonial mayor and he'd be immediately looking for another political office. So you'd have the same old crap that you have now, so, I just don't think, I mean, how do you hold the mayor accountable, the administration accountable for performance? Because that's what you're talking about. That all you're talking about is performance and not the kind of stuff, the vague stuff. There's a little book at the public library and it says how to run for public office, how to run for a local office. It's about 80 pages. It's old book. It's like 20, but I mean, it's amazing because the techniques are there and all, talk about the neighborhoods, talk about so it's the same stuff. But how do you get performance out of the guy? I mean, you can't, you just can't, where you can ride herd on a city manager.
Anything else?
Were you gonna say something?
Councilman Hotchkiss?
So it's not the first time I've heard of a city manager, and it's something that kind of gets talked about here and there. I think through looking at the city charter, it seems very difficult to try to realistically understand how much needs to be rewritten, or like how you eliminate the powers that are already there in what we have is a strong mayor form of government, and then where the city manager like plugs into all of that. So it's hard for me to understand where that phase shift happens or how that happens. But it's something that I'm interested in exploring, whether it's the mayor and city manager or just a city manager. I think you bring up a lot of good points, that the accountability is key, but also like the experience in just management is really important. So,
If you go to the Ithaca papers, the Ithaca Voice, those kind of newspapers, they will have all that stuff there about the battles and the discussions, which really wasn't, at the end, when people understood it, it really wasn't much of a battle. So, I mean, the wording of the referendum, which took, I don't know, took a couple of months maybe. So all of it's there to peruse, and you can sort of see the tomato grow,
Anything else? All right, I think we're,
To the council, would
can't hear you.
it be suggestible to put this on, going back to a committee to take a look at it with other things?
Is that a motion?
Yes, I would make a motion and then we put it into committee.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilman Porter, seconded by Councilman Hotchkiss. Any discussion? Yes. I'll say that just keeping a discussion going. So
Always. Yeah.
my thoughts. All right, clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Porter.
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton.
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon.
Aye.
Councilmember Costi.
No.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-1.
Nice working with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
John. Thank you
Yep,
very much.
So RL 24-151 is being sent to committee for further discussion. For clarity, both this one and the previous one are both being sent to the MPA committee. Okay, next we have RL 24-145, considering planning, handing things over to Councilman Hotchkiss, and we have our comptroller Chuck Robinson.
how are you guys doing?
Good, thanks.
So we have RL 24-145. This is an ordinance to amend the 2024 general fund for professional services for R 24-09. Do you want to give us a brief overview of this RL?
Yeah, this is a continuation of the RL that we had back in February, which authorized the mayor to enter into contracts with Labella Engineering to do large set plan review. The previous RL included dollar amount to be put into a line in the budget for professional services, and we're just bringing that to fruition and making those funds available to be spent on the RL, on the use of Labella to do plan review on large set drawings.
Is your mic on? Can you double check?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's on, yeah.
okay. Is there, I guess my first thing is there a project that you're looking at that you need these funds for?
Yeah, we have two, City Lights, which I believe was formerly the Assembly of God, is looking to relocate on Main Street where the Weiss and Giant markets were down past Glenwood. It's a pretty sizable job, and that's going to require.
Can you try and just speak a little bit louder?
Mhm.
I can't really hear what you're saying.
Yeah, so City Lights, church is looking to relocate and build a former grocery store into a public assembly area. Few hundred attendants, about 40 classrooms. There's a lot of moving parts in a project like that that requires, substantial review. We also have, Center Plaza, just across the street from the bus station on Shenango and Henry. That's 73,000 square feet that's being converted from office space to housing. Housing is considered much higher hazard risk than office space, so a lot of parts have to be put together to make that job happen. So those two large projects that we have on the table, and we anticipate more.
So will this cover those two projects completely?
Yeah, this actually exceeds the amount that it would cost to do those two projects, but this is the amount that was in the resolution from February 2024. And that's the amount that was in the budget or in the contracts that the mayor signed with Labella. So we probably will not exhaust that amount this year, but if approved, then we plan on putting it in the budget for 2025. I think it's a little bit, there's the potential for it all to be used, but not this year. Next year could be. We've had some sizable jobs already. 200 Court Street was very large, 27 Shenango. Between the two of those, it was 25,000 in services to Labella to have those reviewed. Fortunately for us, the developers paid for both of those. The city didn't, but you know, if we're in a situation where we get more projects like this, then, you know, that was the arrangement that we made with Labella, is that we would recruit their services to provide the technical oversight that we just don't have the manpower, the skill set to do.
Gotcha. Is there any other discussion? Any other questions?
Oh, no, I think you just answered when I was gonna ask why we couldn't do it in-house.
You just don't have the people or the expertise. Labella has 15 professional engineers, structural, mechanical, fire safety. We all touch on those topics through the New York State training programs, but we don't have nearly the expertise to verify that those buildings will be safe for the general public. And when we're looking at housing or public assembly, churches that hold 400 or 500 people, we're talking about a lot of lives that need to be protected, and
Definitely.
we don't want to miss anything on something like that.
Definitely.
Is this something that you guys need expedited?
Yes, we have an outstanding bill with Labella already, contracted with them to do the overview for City Lights Church. But when we went to go pay them, we realized the funding, although it was approved in a resolution back in February, it wasn't actually in place. So we're looking to get that funding in place.
I'd like to make the motion to expedite this.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilman Dundon, seconded by Councilman Middleton. Discussion.
I have more questions.
Okay. So,
So I don't want to expedite yet.
okay. Do you mind if we use the,
I can
Discussion
recuse, I
time?
can recuse my motion.
all right, so we'll back it out. Councilman Kavanaugh's got a few questions and then we'll resume our.
Okay, I don't know if this is more a Chuck or more of a Chris question here, but
That's why we're
So-
both here.
right. So the professional services line this is going into has been zeroed since at least 2022. So was the process making developers pay for this sort of thing beforehand or what? What was the mechanism for paying for these reviews before?
We had two developers who were very anxious to get their jobs reviewed in a very short amount of time. We told them that if they were to use Labella Engineering to do the plan review, then the review could be completed within the time frame that they requested. We said, however, at that point, the contract was not in place for us to hire Labella. If they were interested in having somebody, a firm other than the city of Binghamton do the review for them in the time frame which they wanted it done, then there would be an amount that they would have to render to have that done. Both those developers were willing to do it. It's not something that we had done in the past, so there is no history of how do we get developers to pay for it. It just so happened that they needed it done
Okay,
quickly.
so in 2022, revenue from the revenue line that we're increasing by $60,000 in anticipation of more revenue brought in $57,120. In 2023, up through October, which this budget goes through, or is the last number I have from here. We brought in $68,955. So this is if we add, and already in 2024, that budget line has $105,000. That revenue line has $105,000 in it. So that's a $36,000 jump from revenue in that line from 2023 that we've already anticipated in 2024. Now you're asking us to increase that by another $60,000 and anticipating $165,000 worth of revenue. How much revenue have we gotten, and will the increased revenue from these planning permits and review cover that actual cost?
I can't speak to the revenues from last year, but for anticipating going forward, I don't think it's exactly a 1-for-1 revenue, but it's pretty close. Isn't it? I don't know.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know.
One.
Well, I mean,
Well, what it
like for
means that-
the $60,000.
So you said we can spend 60,000. So the
Right.
contract allows us
And-
to spend up to $60,000.
Yes, and that revenue those contracts will bring in the $60,000. It's just not, it's delayed as the projects come in. So like he may have $25,000 worth of expected revenue in his two projects now, but he probably won't get the rest of it until next year. And he mentioned he was going to put that.
I mean, why
remainder in
not?
his
Don't they
budget.
pay, isn't that the permit fee that they pay when they put in their plans? I mean,
Yes, but he only has two projects right now. He may not get the other projects till next year. So he'll have to put the remainder in his budget for next year. But we wanted to give him his whole 60,000 just in case he did have 4 or 5 projects coming down the pike to get him the $60,000 in revenue and have the money available for the budget.
Yeah, but this is, but we've already increased this line this year over last year by $36,000. So this is effectively a $95,000 increase over expenditures through September. How much money has been brought in this year so far? We don't, or in that, how much revenue in that line has been brought in this year so far?
I don't have those numbers in
Yeah,
front of me.
the numbers. So if I looked at the budget before I came down, it looks like we're at 160,000 back in 21, 140 in 22. This year's was 105.
Right, but the actual income was $57,000 in 2022, and through the end of October was 68,000 last year. So I'm saying we're already overestimating income.
Yeah, I don't know if that doesn't even sound right. I'm not an accountant. Councilman Kavanaugh, but that doesn't sound, I know we brought in $50,000 last year just on 2 projects.
Maybe that happened
So
in
there's
November.
no
December.
way that all the other permits that we did over the year amounted to 18,000. That's just not possible.
Well, it's the number in the 2024 budget through October 20th of last year.
Of 2024 budget?
2020, so in the 2025 budget is the amount of revenue in that line that was brought in through October of 2023.
Starting from 2023?
All of 2023 through October 20th. That's when they pulled all the numbers that went into the 2024 budget.
Mhm.
So I think what you're saying is that the budgeted number is incorrect.
Well, I'm saying the budgeted number is already an increase over anything that's been brought in previously.
Right.
You're asking us to increase that, anticipate 60,000 more on top of that.
Yes,
Because you have a
that-
one-to-one canceling out of the revenue with the expenses.
That is just for these contracts with Labella. Anything else in the budget is an estimate from last year that they had at that time. And I can't speak to that. I can only speak to the 60,000 right now.
No, that doesn't make sense.
That's what we're here for. We're here to talk about the 60,000.
But I'm saying the increase that you built in this year is already tens of thousands of dollars in excess of anything I can see that was ever brought in.
I didn't build in any increase. The budget from last year is an estimate. I can't speak to an estimate from last year. The budget may be incorrect or the budget.
That's why I would
may
expect
be-
when you come and ask for an increase to a revenue line like this, that you would have maybe revenue numbers from where we're at this year.
Yeah.
Why would I need revenue numbers?
Because you're asking us to change the estimate that you created this year based on new money and things coming in, but we haven't even,
Based on his contracts, he'll probably make his $60,000 more or less this year.
that would be the hope.
That
But,
is.
but I
and that's
don't
what a
know
budget
the,
is.
I don't know the amount. I don't know if when a set of plans comes in, do you go to LaBella and say, hey, how much is this going to cost? And then
Yeah.
you charge them that amount of money?
No.
No, you follow the permit calculation formula,
Yeah,
right?
no, generally what's happening is we're getting projects that reach the maximum permit application fee. They're over 3.3 million in cost, so the fee is $25,000. The cost of the review by LaBella is significantly less than that. So we're bringing in more than we're spending.
That's the crux of the question, I guess. All right.
Yes,
Is there a
yes.
chance that our permit calculation is not creating enough revenue?
No.
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 Okay.
So, I mean, the biggest job that we had, it was a 400-page drawing. It's a $21 million job. Their permit application fee was $25,000. The cost of the review was 15.
Okay. So there's not a
So-
chance that these large projects are going to
No,
outstrip,
no.
the cost of review is going to outstrip their permit fee.
The cost of review is less than the
Less,
permit application
yes.
fee. Yeah,
Mhm.
yes.
Yes. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is there any information that is needed prior to taking of re-looking at the motion to expedite?
I'm comfortable with Mr. Schneider's assurances that the revenue will outstrip the cost on these projects.
Thank you. Okay. Would Councilman Dundon like to reissue his motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make the motion to expedite this.
I'll second.
Okay, motioned by Councilman Dundon, seconded by Councilman Middleton. Any discussion on expediting? As stated earlier on in this discussion, we brought up that there is an outstanding, bill to LaBella already, which is the motivation for an expedition.
I would say one thing
Councilman
with the
Middleton,
with discussion, if you could, like possibly the next time you come, maybe bring some information like that for us. I think that would be better, just like as a clear understanding of like the past and what was done before, so that in that way we can make a proper decision. And it's not so much of, what's this and what's that. So if you could, a guesstimation, if you could bring down as much information when you're presenting.
Anything in particular that you were looking for?
I guess whatever you're bringing, to council, I think that, just like some prior information,
Like the past revenue.
the past revenue, just things like that, if we're making amendments, to the budget.
all right. So we had a motion, we had a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, let's take a roll call vote on expedition.
Councilmember Porter,
Nay.
Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon,
Aye.
Councilmember Costi,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 6-1.
Right, so this RL will be expedited to Wednesday's business meeting. Okay, great, thank you. Next, we have RL 24-146, considered in finance, handing things over to Councilman Kavanaugh.
So RL 24-146 is an ordinance to amend the 2024 Binghamton Johnson City sewage budget to effectuate a 2023 transfer that is greater than the 45 days after the end of the year pursuant to Section G of the intermunicipal agreement. So there's a letter of explanation attached from Billy Goodson, the business manager. So often she comes to explain these things, but she's pawned it off on you tonight, I guess, Chuck.
Yes, this is,
And this seems to be not the first go around we've had with their post 45-day trying to get their yearly audit in order from 2023.
that is
So we're
correct.
8 months in. And
Yes.
so
When I'm sorry, when I took over this job, I had assumed that this portion had been taken over, and I was in discussions with the auditors, and I realized that it hadn't been done. So I went ahead and put this together. It's been a tragedy of errors. It should have been in the budget from last year.
this accounting for depreciation
Accounting
expenses.
for depreciation, yes. So barring that, it had to get in for this year, and it never happened throughout the year because we didn't really have that number. Because we moved to an enterprise system this year
Mhm.
from the multi-fund situation.
And they did, this also stems from, they actually did the equipment assessment, right? Or equipment, yeah, right?
Yes, it's when we moved let's just round it off to $290 million. We transferred those assets from our fund that we own those projects, and they formally got transferred over onto their books. So we no longer have them. They're on the plant's books. And we started depreciating them this last year. And we didn't have a complete number because of the additions and subtractions from other items, like selling a truck and buying another dump truck or something. There was some adds and subtracts, and it came out to that $16 million number, which we have. But in fairness to them, they couldn't really have a number. They could have estimated it in their budget. But through time and a tragedy of just missing things, this got missed. And when we found it out, when we submitted the AFR on April 30th, my predecessor, I had assumed was going to take care of this, but did not.
Your predecessor, who's now comptroller in Johnson City, but decided to,
Which has nothing to do
clerk
with,
treasurer. so-
which has nothing to do with what he does.
Okay.
He's staying away from this.
Oh, okay. All right.
Which I would do.
Stay away from.
So, okay, so this has been floating around this letter's been floating around since May,
Yes.
right? But we're getting around to cleaning it up now.
Yes. We were rather busy in June.
And then could you explain why the decreases happen? I understanding the depreciation accounting, why do the decreases happen in this kind of distribution between the fund balance and the two forms of debt service?
Okay, well, depreciation is a non-cash item, so the decreasing the fund balance is not going to have any effect on it. And we have to, they have plenty of fund balance, but it's just a budgetary item for right now. For the other two items, those are the debt service portion. Let's see how to explain this. While having depreciation on their books, a portion of depreciation is part of their assets,
Okay.
which means their debt service portion, which is the principal payments, are the only ones that are going to be included on what we call a final bill. So we took the depreciation payments out of their expense lines, these expense lines, so they have available budget in them.
Think I followed that.
I have a spreadsheet that I could show you.
That would be great.
Come on by.
All right.
So basically it freed up those expense lines, and we can put that in depreciation, which is rightly where it should go. Because they're depreciating the asset, but you're also paying a bill on the expensing an asset.
Right.
We're only going to use the expenses on the final bill and not depreciation. We shouldn't charge the municipalities for depreciation on their equipment, only the debt service portion.
And then these are the appropriate splits by ownership, right? Between City of Binghamton and Johnson City.
Yes, they should approximate the 54.8 and 45.2% percentages.
Okay. Okay. And then going forward, this shouldn't be an issue anymore.
Yes, I have contacted Billy. I gave her my best estimate for depreciation. It might change if they decide to sell some assets or buy some more assets, like a fancy lawnmower or a pickup truck or something like that. That will change and their assets will depreciate more, or if they get rid of assets, it will be less, but it will be minor. Maybe $10,000-$20,000 at the most.
Out of 290 million.
Yes, or out of the 16 million that we know that this is mostly the plant depreciation. But they do all have other assets that they own, like trucks and other things.
That depreciate on the state schedule, right?
It's an accounting thing. We do straight line depreciation. So one number for the whole year.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Go for it.
Yeah.
you keep-
I didn't know if I had put to expedite this because I'm trying to get the audit done. And they are it was just a request.
It's on as expedited.
It is, okay. Wasn't sure.
Is anyone interested in making a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Councilman Costi motions to expedite. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman Dundon. Any discussion on expedition? All right, clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Porter,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon,
Aye.
Councilmember Costi,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss,
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 7-0.
So, RL 24-146 will be expedited to Wednesday's business meeting. All right. Next we have RL 24-147, considering planning, handing things over to Councilman Hotchkiss, and we'll welcome down the deputy mayor.
Let's go on, Megan. So we have RL 24-147, an ordinance to sell 43.5 Clinton to the First Ward Action Council. Do you want to explain what we're looking at?
Yep, sure. So this is related to O24-35, which council passed earlier last month to sell city-owned property on Clinton Street to First Ward Action Council for the development of affordable housing. You'll see in your packet the offer to purchase from First Ward Action Council that was included as part of that initial request for legislation. That offer to purchase includes 43.5 Clinton Street. And then on the map, a couple pages on in your packet, you'll see that 43.5 is just that tiny sliver of land between 41 and the road. I think it's Murray Street there. 43.5, the city intends to sell to First Ward Action Council. It's needed for their project. It should have been included on the original legislation, but was just an oversight, I think, because of the size of the parcel. First Ward Action Council needs it for that project. And again, this is the project to turn the 9 blighted properties into affordable housing. The 2 on Clinton Street here will be new construction.
Thank you. I think everybody's pretty familiar with what's going on over there. We have a number of RLs that were related to this. Does this need to be expedited?
I requested expedition just because it was part of that legislation that council passed a couple meetings back in early July, and just for the sake of not risking holding up the project, if it could be expedited.
I just want to note and make sure that we have the right entity for Wednesday. So because they changed
Brook
for
Housing.
41, they changed it to Troutbrook Housing Development Fund.
They did do
Corporation.
that, Councilman. I
Sorry.
can clarify with First Ward
Which
Action
one they
Council.
want and
I imagine Troutbrook on the official legislation for this one too, but I will ask Jerry Willard.
just so we don't have to go back and
Yeah,
fix it.
thank
Okay.
you for catching that. I will ask him.
Are there any other questions?
Is there a motion for
I'll motion expedite.
I'll second.
motion for expedition by Councilman Kavanaugh, seconded by Councilman Middleton? Any discussion on expedition? Okay. The clerk can take the roll.
Councilmember Porter,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon,
Aye.
Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 7-0.
Right, so RL 24-147 will be expedited to Wednesday's meeting. Anything else? All right. Next we have RL 24-148. Considered MPA, and he things over to Councilman Middleton.
RL 24-148, it's a resolution authorizing extension of agreement with Binghamton City School District for 3 resource officers. Can you explain that, this?
Yeah, sure. So this is to extend the agreement between the city and the school district for the school resource officer at Binghamton High School and both officers at each of the middle schools. So I think most of you are probably familiar with the school resource officer program. This puts police officers in each of those 3 schools. It's a mutually beneficial program that provides some additional security and public safety to those schools. And also from the city's perspective and the police department's perspective, helps us work on that relationship between members of law enforcement and students living in the city of Binghamton. So before council today, this is a 1-year extension of the existing agreement, which city council last approved in 2023. This extension in your packet is obviously for the 24-25 school year. And it's been updated just to make the dates current, to reflect that, to make the salaries current of that grade 1 police officer. And then just some additional clarifying language that Corporation Council has edited in.
Councilman Kavanaugh?
So just to refresh my memory and council's memory, the kind of the deal the city makes with the district is that the district pays the salary amount for the officers and the city continues to pick up the tab for benefits and medical and benefits and fringe benefits, right?
That's my understanding. Yeah, the dollar figures in the contract are the salaries for 24 and 25. So that's what we would be reimbursed for.
Councilman Hotchkiss?
Yeah, I believe it was last year. There was a survey last year or the year before. There was a survey being circulated by the superintendent that was gathering feedback from students about their experience or perspective on the SROs in schools. I was wondering if you had reviewed the results of that.
Yeah, so the last one that I had seen was from 21-22. Was the superintendent sent me. I had asked if I asked her recently if there was data from this past school year, and there didn't seem to be for SROs. But the 21-22 that she shared with me was let's see, 895 students took the survey, representative of the population, and overwhelmingly positive feedback on the school resource officer. So I'll read this part. In summary, 75% of students had some level of comfort, meaning neutral, comfortable, very comfortable in approaching an SR with the problem. 87% felt they worked to build a positive relationship with our students, and 91% felt they are keeping our building safe.
And this was in all three, elementary, middle and high school?
They're only in
Middle and high school?
They're only in middle and high school. I would have to check if who the survey was of.
And there wasn't another one that was done within 23, 24?
There wasn't one for last school year that touched on SROs, but the superintendent said they would add those questions back in going forward.
Okay. Then why not? They didn't add it in this time. Okay.
So would you mind sharing the results of the survey with council?
I can ask the superintendent, and as long as she gives permission, I'd be happy to forward it.
Thank you.
How many,
Councilman Porter.
I'm sorry. How many, you just putting only 3?
Yeah.
Just 3?
High school and both of the middle schools, they each have one, yes.
Or were there some SROs retiring from those positions? I'm just wondering, how come we adding more?
We're not. It's the same 3 officers as last year. It's just we're
just
just
extended
renewing the
the-
contract.
They're just extending the contract. The one.
Okay, I got it.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Sorry.
She was trying to tell. Oh, sorry. So, okay. All right.
So the survey you mentioned was focused on the students. I'm curious about like teachers and staff and their feelings. I don't know if there's a separate survey for that or it's anything that-
Yeah,
obviously, teacher retention and things are, well, something the city doesn't deal with, something I at least heard in my district, people concerned about schools and
Yep, the survey that the superintendent shared with me was specific to students. And it covered more than SROs. I believe it was a pretty broad survey. She just shared the SRO results with me. I'm not sure if one is given to faculty and staff in the district. I can tell you anecdotally, we hear good things from teachers and administrators about the program. But I don't have any data from them.
anyone else? Councilman Hotchkiss?
Yeah. So the school research officers, they're pretty much only there at the end of school hours?
No, I think
the-
they're throughout the day. They think the contract states they get there 15 minutes prior and are there through 15 minutes after dismissal, but they're there throughout the day.
Okay, thank you.
So Megan, I did see in the contract, they get paid for 40 hours, but school obviously doesn't go on for 40 hours. So do they come back and work for the department to make up the hours, or is because of this contract, they're paid the 40 for only working at the school?
That's a good question. I know sometimes they'll do extracurricular activities. Like one of the SROs last year at one of the middle schools was involved, like helped with the drama program. And in the summer months, when school is not in session, they are on patrol. But the district still covers, we bill them monthly for the entirety of the salary. So I'm not sure if they're hitting their 40 hours during the school year, but the district is covering that salary.
I had a question. How do you determine who becomes an SRO? Like, how does that work out?
The chief decides.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the officers have to express an interest to him, and there's, make sure that it's a good fit. And then they'll go through a specific SRO training.
Yeah, and Councilmember Middleton, it does state in the contract they must have a minimum of at least 4 years law enforcement experience too.
Saw the picture of the theater, the theater.
It was a big hit.
Any further discussion? All right, all right. Oh, Councilman Hotchkiss.
I guess, is there a report for, like incidents that the school resource officers handle that's reported annually that we could review?
I don't think there's anything that separates them out. If they file a police report, it would, they're not SRO specific reports. If you had specific questions, I could try to I'd be happy to try to get those answers, but I don't think there's any things that they do differently from other patrol officers.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I'm up next. Next, we have RL 24-149. And it's considered in rules, handing things back over to Councilman Hotchkiss.
So this is RL 24-149, an ordinance to amend the boards and commissions. Let's go, give us an overview.
Yeah. So, as you know, we repopulated the Environmental Commission this year. And as such, I've started to get to know a bit about some of the different boards and commissions. It was pointed out to me that members in certain boards seem to have ID badges while others didn't. And none of our appointees did on CDAC or an environmental. So I kind of was seeing some people having IDs and some people not having IDs, badge IDs. And so I thought it would be nice to standardize that and make it, spell it out in the section that newly sworn in members of boards and commissions would know that it's something that they have access to. Additionally, when setting up the Environmental Commission, our chair was really interested in getting Blackboard access, which we did get. That was great. But it's not clear that like people would necessarily know what types of things they have access to. So again, putting it all in that chapter. We're also looking at creating the rules for the Environmental Commission, the bylaws. And at that point, we're noticing that some boards and commissions had policies about how you get rid of people who are not attending and others didn't. And again, to just kind of make things uniform across boards and commissions. So that was the motivation for this, was just the experience of and the discussions that came around setting up a commission that had been non-functional for many years.
Thank you. I think the questions I had for you, I already answered for myself, but I was, I was curious why some of the changes that you have here don't include all the rest of the commissions and boards, but I think it's because they already had their own stuff outlined in their bylaws.
So there are some boards and commissions that relate to state law. So that work with the attorney on kind of identifying certain things have to follow very prescribed. So trying to figure out which ones could be made uniform and the other ones have to follow the rules that they have to follow.
So Council President, in the paragraph that says software, there's a extended sentence that
Yep.
states the mayor may in consultation with the IT department deny or revoke the access of any board, commission, or committee based upon financial burden, misuse, technical feasibility, staffing requirements, security vulnerability, or any similar consideration. What's to stop him just from denying them because he chooses to?
Yep, and this is a draft that just came in today. It doesn't have to be the final draft. But one of the things that came up, so the blackboard was not an issue, but some members of the board wanted, or commission wanted, like an actual like city user ID. And my understanding is that actually like costs money. So certain IT things cost money. And they also give you maybe more access than someone who is in a kind of volunteer position should have in the city. And so this is definitely something to keep looking into. I'm not looking to expedite or anything. This just introducing it tonight. But I think one of the key things was just that certain software cost money. A board or commission should automatically have right to it. Some things like the base camp are not a problem financially for the city. I don't know if it's a certain number or something, but it wasn't an issue like setting up user accounts would be.
So, excuse me, I'm sorry. So
Yep,
Madam,
go for it.
Madam President, so because of financial issues or dealing with IT, or dealing with the software, so the mayor just has the right to just get rid of or deny people just because of that?
Well, right now, I mean, looking at the environmental commission, we don't have any money budgeted to that line. So there's no money planned for the use of IT for that commission, for example. But again, this is draft language I received today and I shared with everyone because I received it. But we can absolutely send this to committee or bring it back another, I'm just introducing this today.
Yeah, because my fear is with the Human Rights Commission coming up on the ballot, if it gets passed through, he can deny access to everybody and give whatever just cause he gives. So we'll have to have some checks and balances there with that.
I agree.
And any other questions, comments, discussion?
Yeah.
Okay.
In general, I think this is a good thing to try to standardize the boards and commissions. And I think we just gotta make sure that we aren't missing any, to the extent possible.
So if there's an interest in sending this committee, I accept a motion to send to committee.
I'll make the motion to
I'll
send it to
second.
committee.
Okay, motion by Councilman Dundon, seconded by Councilman Porter. Any discussion on sending to committee? Okay, clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Porter,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon,
Aye.
Councilmember Costi,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Thank you. That is 7-0.
So, RL. There it is. 24-149 is being sent to the Rules Committee. Next, we have RL 24-152, considered in planning, handing things over to Councilman Hotchkiss.
So this is RL 24-152, an ordinance to amend chapter 410 to alter townhouse density. Want to give us an overview, Councilmember Kavanaugh?
Sure. In looking to get a little bit creative with solutions to our affordable housing crisis, frankly, we're in. This is another tool, probably a small tool, but another tool to put in the toolkit. It very selectively increases some density to allow for construction of townhouses in across the R1, R2, and R3 districts. So the way that I'm proposing that this works is that we have lot requirements, there's bulk requirements allowing, say, building to go on 40% of a residential lot, right? So if your lot is, it's not the case generally, but say your lot's 10,000 square feet, you could put a 4,000 square foot structure on there, and the other 60% would be open. So instead of building a one family, you're maintaining that limited footprint. We're not letting you build a bigger building, but that could be a duplex or in a townhouse style. Or a triplex or something, but keeping the size of that building, keeping the footprint as is in the code, and also fulfilling parking requirements as in code. So in practice, there would be a very limited number of lots that would meet the bulk requirement and the parking requirement to allow this to happen. But there are some spread around the city. There's certainly some more open spaces. On the north side, there's one lot that's kind of the one in my neighborhood is on the corner of LaLure and Millard, which we had a very large multi-unit building in it. It was very old. There was a fire many years ago. And so there's a big double lot there, which could allow for this sort of construction on it. And why is this helpful for housing affordability? Well, that's the second part of the change, and that's moving to allow basically a cooperative entity to own these rather than individuals. This allows you to, for financing purposes, say there's 3 units, and you have when you're looking to finance this, you have one owner coming in that's making $150,000 a year, another owner that's coming in making 50, and another at 100, and it lets you kind of average those together for financing purposes and say, all right, we have 3 people with $100,000 income. So you're kind of opening up some more ways to access financing for people that might not otherwise be able to access financing to purchase a home through cooperative ownership. This is common in other places. It is not common here in Binghamton. Again, this is a small tool, and it certainly needs review through legal and through planning, and it will need to be farmed out to have, since it will be affecting multiple zoning districts in large area of the city, we'll need to go through county planning too. So this is just getting the ball rolling. I would motion to send this to the planning committee for further discussions, but I wanted to throw it out here, get the ball rolling, get the discussion going, and see what the feedback is.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion by Councilman Kavanaugh, seconded by Councilman Costi. Any discussion? Okay, clerk can take the roll.
Councilmember Porter,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh, Councilmember Dundon,
Aye.
Councilmember Costi.
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky, excuse
Aye.
me. Thank you. That's 7-0.
Okay,
Can we keep the discussion going just for like a second longer on this one?
yeah, I'm just gonna remind everyone, RL 24-152 has been sent to planning committee.
So I just want to say I really like this, and I think it's important, especially when we're trying to look for more infill opportunities and we're receiving the state funding to pursue that. So I think kind of getting creative with what we can do with exactly what we're doing here with zoning and with allowing townhouses or different types of multifamily to fit in. I think that'd be great. I hope we can also explore auxiliary dwelling units where they could fit. So if you already have a house and you want to like convert the garage to a livable space, that could be another opportunity to just add more units of housing. But yeah, and in general, I'm supportive of this, and I'm just thank you for bringing it forward.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have a discussion of 124-40 .c, and that's with employees. So I will pass things over to Councilman Porter.
We're having a discussion on 124-40 .c for the clerk and deputy clerk salary. As right now, we have something already that was passed last year around this time where they get about an increase of 3%. That would have taken effect in January 1st. What we're trying with what we have right now, what you see on the charts is that you have the city clerk as well as the deputy clerk being the lowest paid within the city. And right now we're trying to create a parity to the other departments to increase the percentage. So that way it would be somewhat comparable to all the other departments it had. The other chart, when you look at the COLA adjustment or cost of living adjustment, is up to like 3.2% for it was up to 3.2% for the head salary and then also in the deputy salary. See that the fact of the volume of work has increased also due to lack of staff that the city clerk has have experienced it, and by them having that lack of staff, it has them taking multitudes of positions as well as keeping up with council to perform in their performance. And I just feel that personally, I would like 5%, but it would the 3.5 would probably be better. So that they can be up at least somewhat in the realm of all the other department heads. Anybody want to discuss it?
Oh, sure. I kind of agree with your sentiments too. I think they are putting in more work with less staff. And that as a whole too, we might have to talk about other position salaries inside of there also. So that way we can,
Yeah, I agree with that. The fact that we need more staff, it would be best to even consider more increases for positions within the staff for the city clerk's office. It's a skeleton crew, unfortunately, and to have this city to be run, it needs more than just those two, but they're working, doing their best at trying to get with what they have so far.
Are you proposing a 3.5% increase?
Yes. Anybody else? Anybody else with discussion or anything?
I think it's worth noting that we recently increased the treasurer's salary to make it both fair and competitive, that someone would actually want to keep that position, and it's like a really important position. I think all the positions are important, and we want to have competitive salaries that are also meeting people's needs so that we can retain good staff and employees here.
quality staff.
Quality staff, yeah. That's all.
Does anyone from employees have the amount of increase that was done last year? Oh, it was 3% last year.
Yeah, 3%. Yeah, right there on from what they back in July of 2023. So
I'm curious, how long was the previous clerk in that role before getting the increase? Yeah, our deputy clerk is going to come down to answer questions to jump in. Thank you.
Hi. So I'm not sure exactly the number of months that the previous clerk was in the role, but I do know that it was, I believe, less than a year that she was in that role. Yeah. As clerk, she was in that role less than a year. Yeah.
Thanks. Anyone else have questions? Councilman Hotchkiss?
The deputy clerk, graph, I think it's probably reflected out of like budget numbers. Is that correct?
Sorry, can you clarify the question?
Are the salaries pulled directly from the budget for the deputy
Yes,
clerk?
so
staff?
both for the clerk and the deputy clerk, the salaries are pulled directly from a department head, and then whoever would be an equivalent like deputy department head, or sometimes they're called department, like first assistant, or yeah.
In that case, the assistant comptroller also received a pay increase. So
That's correct.
that isn't reflected in the graph.
No, I believe that that is still the number pulled directly from the budget, like the projected budget of 2024. So it wouldn't reflect any change from legislation that was passed this year. So it would be higher. I can
Yeah, I think we're trying to say the
update the
same
numbers.
thing.
Yeah, no, yeah,
Okay.
I can update. I'm happy to provide updated numbers for that.
Councilman Kavanaugh?
I'm just curious if anyone did any or asked Kent to do any benchmarking to other positions in this of this type, of the clerk type at any other municipalities or?
Yeah, so I can
Right.
speak to that. So we did Kent was very gracious in providing us with some other municipalities' clerk salaries. We didn't include them in the packet this time just because a lot of other clerk salaries are not necessarily reflective of what the job description for this particular municipality is. So for example, in a lot of municipalities in the same area, like in Broome County, the clerk is also a clerk treasurer or maybe a clerk registrar or something akin to that. So it's slightly different. And in other municipalities, there's a variance on staff. I'm happy to provide more data where we just wanted to do a little more research before we gave more data on sort of direct comparisons. But so like in other places, there may be clerks with just one staff or clerks with 5 staff, depending on the size of the municipality.
Let's see, it looks like they did this July of last year, so we're already running a little late for this. What's the timeline to get this in on our budget request for the department?
So this is the last work session that this discussion can be considered at. And it would have to be passed this month. I'm happy to send out an email quoting that part of the budget memo to everybody so that that's clear.
Sure.
And just to clarify, this would affect us moving from January forward, so not this current year. And we do have our own budgetary considerations outside of this for our other staff.
How does this compare to the other challenges that you face, like in terms of your priorities for money? Whether it's for more staff or more
Yeah, so
whatever whatever you're thinking of.
sure. Do you want to go first or?
I mean, I can quickly speak to that and then Sam can continue. Deputy Clerk Costello. I would say that by far our greatest need is staff and retainment of staff. It's not just the clerk's office, but City Hall overall, which tends to have a problem retaining staff over periods of years due to the comparative salary that we pay to other municipalities and to other similar jobs. It does tend to be on the low end. So in terms of priority, I do think that fighting for our staff and for City Hall staff in general to be fairly compensated is definitely our highest priority.
I would concur with that. I will say, obviously, CSEA employees have a different system through which they are able to negotiate their salaries. So that's why when we come before you today, it's not to say that we are not advocating very strongly for our own staff to have significant salary increases. This is just the avenue through which we would advocate for our own cost of living increase. And I think the COLA is a pretty decent standard through which to ask for a salary increase, especially if you compare with the other department heads who have had salary increases over time to match the fact that those positions were not competitive when marketed at the same price, like the same rate that they had been previously.
Anything else? Councilman Dundon?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to move it from 3% to 3.5% on the raise.
I'll second.
No, it's 3.
It's 3.2
Point-
currently.
3.2.
COLA is
Point
3.2, yeah.
2 to 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5. I'll second it.
Motioned by Councilman Dundon, seconded by Councilwoman Middleton to look at a raise of 3.5 instead of 3.2.
Do we do a roll call?
Any discussion on that? Okay. Yeah, I guess I can take a roll call vote on this. Okay.
Councilmember Porter,
Aye.
Councilmember Middleton,
Aye.
Councilmember Kavanaugh,
Aye.
Councilmember Dundon,
Aye.
Councilmember Costi,
Aye.
Councilmember Hotchkiss.
Aye.
Council President Matavetsky.
Aye.
Thank you. 7.
So, okay, so the proposal is a 3.5% increase for, just for clarity, for the clerk and the deputy clerk, correct?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Do we need anything else besides that vote to move forward? Since you are process expert on this.
No, we can definitely draft the legislation and then you all can review it after that
Thank you.
with the help of Corporation Counsel. Thank you very much.
All right. All right. Anything else? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Councilman Dundon, seconded by Councilwoman Middleton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?